Newsfirst, face-to-face with Jamal Ratnayaka.
A very good evening and welcome to yet another edition of Face to Face, coming to you from our Newsfirst studios here in Colombo, bringing you face to face this evening. I am Jamal Ratnayaka for the Newsfirst team. And this evening, my guest tonight in the studio has been on Face to Face many a times and has always brought a wealth of experience, knowledge and very, very elaborate explanations as to why he believes in certain stances and his political convictions are. My guest this evening is Professor Charitha Herath, representing the Freedom People's Congress. He is also a member of Parliament. So, very good evening to you, Professor. Welcome back on the show.
Very good evening and thank you for having me, Jamal.
Certainly, Professor. Now, let's get the ball rolling with some developments that occurred late last week, which is the Freedom People Congress, or certain members representing the Freedom People's Congress penned an agreement to join the Samagi Jana Alliance that is led by the Samagi Jana Balawegaya, Sri Lanka's main opposition. But we didn't see some prominent figures who make up the Freedom People's Alliance or the Congress, Freedom People's Congress, present at that occasion, one of which is you. Why did we not see either you or the leader of the Freedom People's Congress, Dala Salhapperuma, at that particular event last week, Professor Herath?
Yeah, thank you, Jamal, asking that question because it is a very important question in terms of our understanding. And, it was not the whole FPC, the Freedom People's Congress, signed an agreement with the SJB.
Right.
And some members of our group have decided to go into that alliance, and they have signed an agreement. And in our understanding that they have been working with SJB in some time in accordance with their kind of ideologies, and they have finally agreed to sign an agreement. So that was what happened last week, and we want to say that the other members of the FPC, actually from the beginning we have 13 MPs from the government side who form this group, and it is not a party as such, and we have gathered there and to form a couple of policies, and we have started to work on under that policies. So in December actually there was a discussion in our group that how to engage in the presidential campaign. So in that discussion there were two positions at the executive committee of our group. One was to go ahead and get touch with SJB and to work on according to the alliances, and other one was to look at the policies and to form alternative policies to the government and to this economic collapse. And we just need to focus on the policies. That is another position. So one group of people have decided that they just need to go into SJB alliances, and then they have decided and they have gone. So 6 MPs led by Professor G.L. Piris have gone there, and now other members led by Honorable Dala Salhapperuma are at the People's Freedom Alliance. So we are continuing our work, and we are trying to develop and discuss with other partners and parties on alternative policies to the government, and also to form some formidable practical answers for the crisis that we are facing right now. We just can't go and argue in front of people that we don't want this X gentleman and we need to get a Y gentleman without looking at the policies. So that is not the correct way. So we think that we just need to look at how we can analyze this issue, this crisis, and what are the solutions for that, and how to form some policies in order to get that solution in practically possible. So these are the kind of things that we think we need to think when we are going to have an alliance. But one thing is for clear, that we can't fight presidential election alone.
Okay.
So we need to go into kind of alliances to
A
do
partnership.
that. Partnership to do that. And we think we will also be a part of alliance.
Right.
But right now, we are still working as FPC.
So if you take the Freedom People's Congress with the 6 members who now joined the Samagi Jana Balawege, there are 7 members who are left in the Freedom People's Congress.
Right.
So let's take a look at the equation here, Professor. If you take out the 6 members who joined the SJB, and your stance is that the SJB's policies do not they did not align with your policies, you can either decide to join the United National Party and support their campaign, or the SLPP, which I do not know whether you will support because you are a breakaway faction of the SLPP government, or the other alternative is to support the National People's Power, if we take the key political parties. So in that equation, where do you feel your policies most align with a particular alliance or a political party?
No, now, Jayamal, you have to look at it in a rather broader way. Now, one way to look at it is that we don't know whether SJB will change their policies.
Right.
And that is also another option.
Okay, so that it's open for discussion.
Yeah, it's open for discussion, not a very close kind of thing.
Right.
At the NPP, some of the NPP positions are also aligned with the way that we are thinking, and that is also very important area we need to look at. And I think we don't need to go into, like, we are not going to discuss with the President's Party or the SLPP right now.
That's a hard no.
Yeah, like, actually, at the moment, we can see their policies. We don't need to go into open any another Pandora's boxes, because everything is now open. They are willing to sell as much as possible national assets, and they are just, trying to fix the election. That is what they are now going to do, and they are doing. So we don't need to go into discuss all these issues with them.
Right.
But all other alternatives are possible. Even there are some other third party or next party kind of, left-oriented party alliance coming in. So we can look at that as well. So I'm not closing any doors for these other areas, but not with SLPP and the government.
Right. So now, since we established that fact, Professor, let me just quickly ask you, what sort of policies do you expect a political party or an alliance to align itself with, or to have established, should you support or decide to support that political movement? We know there are economic considerations, there are considerations regarding foreign policy, privatization, and so on. These are the hot topics these days. So what sort of policies do you look for personally and also as a collective when or before you support a certain political party or a movement?
No, I can answer that one in my personal capacity.
Yes, certainly.
And first one is that we need to look at what is the form of economy that we just need to develop.
Right.
So we are now in a big mess in terms of economic development, and we are facing a very severe balance of payment crisis. And we are having continuously from 1976 onwards, we are having severe budget deficits. And to fill these two lapses, we have been taking different kind of loans from the international partners and from locally as well. So there is a huge debt crisis. So these three crises are in front of us: balance of payment crisis, and budget deficit, and the debt crisis. So we need to, now this current government is only thinking about that debt crisis.
Right.
They are just trying to fix it accordingly, but there are some other parts of the crisis. And we need to get a economic activity moving in the country, number one. Then number two, in doing so, what is the role of the private sector and the state? There's two different very important issues to be settled. This is another area that we are discussing. Then thirdly, the state assets, SOEs and state assets. There are some other state assets. So are we in a position to argue that the government or the state cannot do business at all.
Okay.
So that is the position that the current incumbent president is holding. I think that is not correct.
Okay.
And even in the many different developed, economically developed countries, capitalist countries are also having the government-owned businesses.
Right.
And in terms of some sections of the businesses, I think government should have some stake.
Okay.
You are not supposed to completely give up it. Then
Right.
you can't manage the economy.
In certain sectors.
In certain times, like,
Okay.
we now even in retail kind of businesses, we just need to have some stake.
Okay.
So we are thinking that the government role of the economy,
Okay.
or the state role of the economy should be discussed.
Right.
And then the loss-making SOEs and profit-making SOEs are two different
Okay.
things. But this government putting those two together in a one basket and selling whatever the state-owned enterprises that they catch.
Okay.
So we are not in agreement of that positions. Now, for example, we agree that Sri Lankan Airline is one of the loss-making, trouble-making institute. We need to restructure. We need to do some work on that. But by showing Sri Lankan Airline, the government is trying to sell some kind of profit-making entities. For example, Litro gas company, Litro terminals, Lanka Telecom, Lanka Hospital, and Insurance Corporation. All these entities are not loss-making, not in the loss-making category. But still, the government is trying to sell this part by showing that loss-making name.
By
tags.
veiling it in the loss-making section, they are trying to offload some of the profit-making companies.
Profit-making companies. So we think we need to have a clear deviation on this thing.
Okay.
And the foreign policy, another sector. Now, though we are very small and very kind of weak country at the moment, still our existence and our location, geopolitical location is very valuable and very debatable in some times. So we need to be very careful on making some decisions. Now, India and Sri Lanka relationship is one of the area now becoming kind of problematic.
Right.
And we should agree that India has been our friend in some times, and they have helped us in this difficult time. All are correct and true. But still, we need to see whether we are going into a kind of trap that we will not be able to come out. Now, for example, now this government is trying to link this island with India by creating a bridge.
Yes.
Which is very, very, substantial decision and very problematic decisions. And that type of decision cannot be taken by just the appointed or succeeding president or his team. Now I have seen that the president's advisor, the main gentleman, has been going here and there from Colombo to Delhi, Delhi to Colombo, and bringing up many different kind of positions and discussing. I think, nobody has given, even the president, the mandate to do this. So we are not supposed to do that kind of thing. So we need to control these kind of unwise decision making in terms of foreign policy. So I think the foreign policy domain became one of the center of gravity in the discussions, and it is now a place for kind of wiseful people to engage.
Right.
So politicians should not take a decision unless and until they get a clear picture of the issue. So that is why I think the foreign policy is one area where we are just focusing on in our discussion. So these kind of areas, economy, state capacity of businesses and state-owned enterprises and foreign policies are 4 kind of areas that we are discussing when we are making a decision on getting into an alliance.
So talking about the economy and the state's role in the economy, Professor, do you believe that the state should play an active role in the markets instead of allowing free markets to function and act as a sort of a regulator within the economy?
No, well, that is also a very frequent question that we need to take up this one very seriously. And, youths like, yourself, Jayamal, are thinking that the government is a terrible institutions and if government will go away, then we will have a very comfortable
efficient,
life, very comfortable
service,
life. But that is a that's an statement with the partly truth.
Right.
So you are not supposed to completely stay or work without the regulator, without the government.
Right.
At the same time, government or state, as I told you previously, state should have some role in some businesses.
Right.
For example, the energy sector. I think the state should have some shares within that. So likewise, in my policy that is called social democratic policies. Now there are 2 different policy platforms. One is called liberal policies, which completely focus on the private sector and to leave the government from economic decision making and ask government to just to regulate, as you said. But there is another policy positions which calls that social democracy, where you need the state also to play a role in some services. Now, for example, now transportation. For a day in Sri Lanka, 8 million people are moving, are using transportations, public transportations.
Only public,
public transportations. So now we need to see that they are not bringing their own vehicles to the market, and they are just using
either a train or a bus or
all these kind of means.
Modes.
So we need to protect their livelihood, their activities in this sector, transportation. Likewise, there are some sections where we need a big other to engage to do this thing. Even in our country now, the number shows that nearly 40% of the populations are in a kind of below the level of the poverty. So we have some responsibility to protect them. So we need to, the state need to engage in that section as well. Even now, education and health, the people, some business people are thinking that is an area of businesses. So, but at the same time, that is a that has also linked with the people's right to learn, right to be healthy existence are kind of positions that we need to maintain. So I think the sections like areas like education, health, transportation, these kind of areas should be open for private sector and the public or the state as well. So now there is a word called natural monopolies. So these are now, like in transportation, are kind of natural monopolies. So state should have some role. But this, the neoliberal policymakers actually who are just to preaching that government and the state are the troubles and we are not supposed to get involved with them and the private sector should come and play. But in our country, now last 45 years, we have opened this economy. Why private sector did not come as it was expected? Because of the government? No, it is not. No, the investments, and sometimes there are many other kind of issues. And, there are I memean, there are some people who are getting things from the state and to become a private sector big guys.
Right.
They are called, crony capitalists. Like they just want to, they just, deals with the states and to get whatever they could get from the states and to become, entrepreneurs and become kind of, capitalist kind of practices, and then they are just claiming.
But one argument against the government having an active shareholding or a stake in some key areas is that the ultimate beneficiary, whoever it may be, does not benefit from whatever is passed down, either because of corruption or because of a bad governance structure. Let's take social safety nets. If you take, I'm not sure about Aswasama, but if we take the Samurdhi scheme, there have been instances where political affiliations could get you the Samurdhi benefit, but the segments of society who really needed it did not have access to that. So where is the solution in your mind to governance issues and structural deficiencies of that nature in the governance structure?
I think one solution is to go to the public digital infrastructure solutions.
Right.
Now, digital infrastructure in public service is a need in this country.
Okay.
I think half of these issues could, be settled through that. So now, one thing that as you now mentions, this public sector engagement should be protected due to the people who are in that who are under the poverty line, which now you mentioned.
Yes.
And now you look at the private sector. Even private sector is not corruption free now.
Yes.
Even some institutions which are run by collective bodies are also showing that they are not that much clean. Now, if you look at Sri Lanka cricket, which is not governed by the state.
Yes.
It is state related, but the private sector
as an independent
entity. So there are many issues, and we have had different kind of discussions on this, and we had different kind of audit reports on this issue. So they are completely an independent group of people, but the public perception is that they are corrupt.
Right.
And I don't want to go into details, and they have to answer for their things. And I have seen many different audit reports from the government audit on their institutions. But my point is that government and other entities all are sometime engaging in this corruption kind of activity. So we are not supposed to just to blame that the state is corrupt and all others are clean.
Right.
It is not true. But I agree that we need to have some instrument to protect the government assets and government finance, and corruption should be eliminated and clean. So that is, I agree.
So you believe one of the avenues in the journey of uprooting this deep-rooted corruption is to move to a digital infrastructure in the public sector. But there, very quickly, Professor Herath, there is a lot of resistance to change, especially from the state sector when trying to implement these new innovations. So what is your solution to engaging with those stakeholders, more specifically employees of the state sector, explaining to them the benefits of such a thing and getting that decision in motion?
I think number one requirement is to first to go to EID card system.
Okay.
Almost all the people of this country should be given electronic number.
Okay.
Now I have my name and you have your name. But in the system, banking and identification system, we are having different kind of numbers. You have different passport number, ID number, account number, and many different numbers. So it is very difficult to get hold the person's identification into the system. I think number one requirement is to go into EID system.
Okay.
But we are having completely different kind of issues on this matter. Last 10 years, the states or the governments have been trying to do this thing, but it was not successful. We have to focus that, number one. Then number two, we need to go into the main service providing platforms in digitally. Digital infrastructure in public service is another area. Then we need to have a separate act to do this thing, and separate institution to manage that. So ICTA was previously formed to get the support for this thing, but it is now doing kind of different works. I think we need to see whether if we could get their support to do this thing, then we have to get it. If not, we have to form a new institution there.
Right. So my guest this evening was Professor Charitha Herath, Member of Parliament and also representative of the Freedom People's Congress. Thank you very much for joining me, Professor Herath, and sharing your insight into a multitude of sectors. And that's the way it was on Face to Face this evening. Do take care and wish everyone who is celebrating a very happy Sinhala and Tamil New Year.